right, we will get started. Welcome, everyone. I am Elisa Velardo, Deputy Commissioner for DDS, and it's great to see so many participants for this month's Fourth Tuesday Forum on Innovative Options. The Fourth Tuesday Forums take place every month on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 3 to 4:30, and we highlight different options that are available. And more importantly, we highlight people who are utilizing these supports and how they're share their experience and how these supports are working for them. We do record these sessions, so I wanted to let you know that today's session is being recorded. In the event that there's somebody who wanted to attend that was not able to, we will post the session on our website, as all previous forums have been posted as well. If you were to go to the DDS website, on the front page, you would see a strip to the right of topics, and the last one is Fourth Tuesday Forums. If you click on that, you will see the recordings for all previous forums. And there are some incredible stories. There's a lot of information. Any of the PowerPoints that have been shared are also available on our website under each of the Fourth Tuesday Forum links. So today's topic is advances in supportive housing. And as you can see from the agenda, we have a great list of presenters today from DDS, some provider presentations, and a family that will share their experience. I wanted to let you know that in the interest of time, we will hold all questions until the end. But if you have a question as somebody is speaking, feel free to jot it in the chat. The chat button is that little bubble that you'll see. And if you click on that, you can type in a question that you have that will allow you not to forget the question and us to know who the question is for, based on who's presenting at the time. But we will go through the presentations first, and then we'll hold the questions to the end. Your options are, you could either note the question in the chat, you can raise your hand. There's that little raised hand button. You click on that if you have a question, that's fine. And if you are on the phone, you can, I believe you would press *6, and that would allow you to unmute. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Elba Caraballo, our Director of Housing. DDS has seen so much growth in housing options over the last several years that we have been thrilled to have Elba join the DDS team. She's got a background in housing and has hit the ground running. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to Elba. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're really very excited about sharing the new developments and what's been going on in housing. And I joined you for the last forum, so I kind of know the way that I kind of know the ropes a little bit. I'm really excited to have joined the team. And so I thought I'd start by maybe sharing with you a little bit of the history. So as Commissioner Velardo just shared, we have a lot has been going on during the past 5 to 8 years in the domain of housing in terms of the state of Connecticut, and certainly specifically in DDS. And so we were very excited in 2014 when the State Interagency Committee on Supportive Housing invited us to join them. And I guess I would call them kind of a supportive housing think tank. It's all of the some of the private funders for affordable housing and all of the providers of supportive housing across the state. And what I mean by that is state agencies that engage in supporting and enabling supportive housing. And we through their support and our involvement with them, and as we continue to grow in supportive housing, we initiated an effort that is called IDASH. And from time to time, you may hear someone mentioning, oh, the IDASH housing in such and such a location, or the IDASH housing in such and such a location. And what it is, it's housing that is intended for individuals. The IDASH stands for Intellectual Disabilities and Autism Spectrum Disorder Housing. And it is not for specialized housing for these individuals, dedicated to these individuals. Instead, it's actually for creating housing as affordable housing is created across the state, that we would be part of that process. And so that the apartments and the housing that individuals whom we support would occupy are part of the mainstream, are part of the larger community. And that's a big part of our agenda with our supportive housing initiative. IDASH focused on establishing partnerships between our providers and the developers of affordable housing to create housing units that are in these developments that are targeted or set apart for individuals supported by DDS. DDS providers facilitate the relocation process once the apartments have been completed, and they provide ongoing services. And I just want to emphasize that, because that's one of the things that sets our effort around supportive housing apart from other efforts, is that we build in the services. Individuals who are already supported by DDS continue to be supported by DDS as they move out into what would be more independent housing opportunities. In 2021, we began the process of relocating DDS-supported individuals into their new apartments. Next slide. Thank you. The goals are really quite simple but powerful. So we're very interested, first of all, in expanding access to community integrated, affordable, supportive housing. We want individuals who are supported by DDS to have the options of living more independently in the community as part of the greater community, the larger community. We want to strengthen the connections between service providers and housing providers. This has really worked out very well for us. The developers are very interested in working with our providers to make sure that the units that they create actually meet the needs of the individuals we're supporting in the community. We also want to demonstrate that using smart home and assisted technology can make a huge difference in the quality of life for individuals who may face some challenges. And so we want to really kind of use our new apartments and our opportunities to really showcase how effective assistive technology and smart home technology can be in making the quality of life for individuals we support much better. And we want to support transitions from institutional models to full community integration. That's a big part of who we are and what we stand for. Next slide, please. Thank you. When we stop to think about what do individuals who are supported by DDS want, especially individuals who might really benefit and might be interested in living more independently, we come to realize that they want what we want. They're part of our community, and they really have desires and priorities that are very similar to those of the general population. Clearly, number one, they want safe, affordable housing, and we enable that using rental assistance, and we encourage the option of having a roommate when individuals move into supportive housing in a development. Services, they want services that enable them to live independently. So we focus on accessible and accessibility ready housing. So that's apartments and units that already have built-in accessible components, and others that with very little turnkey could become accessible, become available, and become appropriate for someone who might need some assistance in terms of access. Access, and then technology, which I mentioned before, and other developments, we want to incorporate that so that the services that we provide do help individuals who we support actually be more independent. Access to transportation, access to community spaces, inclusion in community activities, and options and opportunity to participate in employment. And those are all priorities for DDS generally, and they certainly are priorities as we look at moving individuals, helping individuals move into more independent housing options through our supportive housing efforts. Next slide, please. Thank you. So we have established some criteria for developers. We were very clear that we do not want an apartment that is accessible and has all of the technology and even has access, easy access to transportation, to be everyone who lives there to be a DDS, an individual supported by DDS. Because the goal here is not to create a segregated community, but to have the individuals that we support become part of the larger community. I think that, and I think you would agree, that it will increase acceptance, a lot of the individuals who we support, and understanding for who these individuals are, if we are part of the greater community. So we have made it clear to developers that no more than 25% of the units in any designated apartment complex will be dedicated to DDS. We also ask them to provide common space so that having activities in these apartment complexes hosted by DDS or hosted by other organizations for the community at large would be possible. We ask that the plans for services that are created by our providers, by DDS providers, include community engagement, include community activities, and include a strategy for fostering integration of each individual in the community in ways that reflect who they are and that really cater to their interests. And we plan for ongoing services, and these plans that we create for each individual. So we create plans for the unit, for the supportive housing complex, but we also create then plans for individuals. And these plans are created by providers and approved both by the central office and by the regions first, and then by the central office. And then the other thing I wanted to say about the no more than 25% of the units is that we also don't want the 25% of the units or 15% of the units to be on the first floor on the left-hand side of the building. We really ask that they be scattered sites, that they be distributed across the entire development. And so, you know, with the goal, again, of having our, the residents that we support, the individuals who we support, be among all of the residents in the complex. Next slide, please. So, and a shorthand of how the process works. So let me just say up front, as you can imagine, the devil is in the details, but we have figured out how to figure those out. So I'm just giving you a short overview of how it happens, so that developers with a track record in developing low income and mixed income housing, which is an important component, and DDS service providers with a track record of excellence with DDS, and you all know who they are. Some are represented on the call already. You work with some of them as you support individuals in your walks and independent walks of life. So they find each other, and they find that they have in common a desire or a need to provide housing, affordable low-income housing in a particular community, and they work together to develop a plan for scattered 1- and 2-bedroom units, no more than 25%, and some of them would be accessible. A support plan is developed for the individuals who would relocate there, and a comprehensive plan for responding to the needs of the individuals as part of a greater community. And then it goes through the region and then to central office, and DDS issues a letter of commitment with the hope that the development is selected for tax credit funding. So that's one of the things that's in it for the developers. They work with us and they get tax credit funding, which is a commitment to keep these units affordable for 15 years. The letter of commitment comes from the commissioner, goes to the developer, and they submit that with their documents as they're considered for tax credit funding. If they're selected, the housing is developed. We have at least one development now that is actually looking at other sources of funding as well. They all look for other sources of funding as well, but we have one development where if they don't get the tax credit funding, it's not a deal breaker. With some of them it is, and we know that that happened, for example, with a development recently that it was in the newspaper that basically the development was canceled because the developer couldn't do it without the tax credits. So if the development is selected, then the housing is developed and we move forward with our plan. Next slide, please. Thank you. We currently have 5 open and operational supportive housing settings, and they represent 76 individuals in 50 units. So obviously there are some roommate situations. And then under construction, we have 89 units, which will house 102 individuals. 2 of them are in Hartford, and then they're in Farmington, New Britain, New Haven, New London, Orange, and Pawtucket. I live in New Britain, and it was pretty exciting going to the groundbreaking there and seeing this property that has been sitting vacant, dormant, literally rotting away, doing a groundbreaking and really thinking about in a couple of years that will be housing. It's really very exciting. Next slide, please. What makes supportive housing successful? I would say it's what makes DDS successful. The same thing. We just carry it into this new effort, and it's being person-centered. First of all, the living environments are person-centered. It's large open spaces, doorways and hallways that can accommodate wheelchairs and other equipment that might be needed, and also a person-centered approach to services, again, which is the hallmark of DDS, every place we go and everything that we do. And we know that there's a continuum of care available, which can change and adapt to the changing needs of the individual. And the reason that's really important to us is because it means that an individual, and I'm sort of skipping ahead, I'm not really good with PowerPoints, they can change and age in place. They don't need to give up where they're living because their needs might change necessarily. And so it really takes on the characteristics of being a long-term home. There's physical integration. So there's no more, when I say physical integration of the individuals we support among the general, all of the residents in the apartment complex. No more than 25% of the units are dedicated to individuals supported by DDS. They're scattered throughout the development. And then that gives us what we call economies of scale. And basically that means that our staff and the individuals who support the DDS and supported individuals in the complex don't have far to travel. And so most of the time that is spent at these developments is actually spent with the individuals that we support. And that includes for everyone who's providing any form of service. And so, you know, the direct care professionals, nurses, physical therapists, case managers, etc. Everyone who has interaction with the individuals we support can work more efficiently because multiple individuals are living in the same physical space. And again, the ability to change, evolve, and age in place is important in terms of supportive housing. And it's one of the things that is attractive about it, and it makes supportive housing successful. Strong relationships among providers, developers, and property managers is really important to our success. And rental assistance and rental subsidies are not to be underestimated. We actually provide assistance in partnership with the Department of Housing, the Connecticut Department of Housing. We provide rental assistance to ensure that individuals we support can actually be in this housing and afford it, basically. Next slide, please. Thank you. We're very excited about what I call a new iteration of supportive housing. It's the next additional phase of supportive housing, and we call that non-project based supportive housing, primarily because the phase I just finished describing, we call it project-based because it's connected to projects that developers are creating. Non-project-based supportive housing is where where providers identify existing apartment complexes, and the providers work with the property managers to make units in those developments available to individuals that are supported by DDS. 3 providers have already developed projects in their service area and are in the process of relocating individuals that we support into these units. And we're repeating the funding opportunity now to encourage and support other providers who are interested in moving into supportive housing and who already live near some developments where there is affordable housing. And so it would make sense to capitalize on what's already there. These developers these developments already have a proportion of units that are designated for special populations for low income and low and moderate income. And we would seek to have no less than 3 of these units designated for individuals supported by DDS. And the process is basically the same as it is for individuals who transition from any other DDS service into the supportive housing model. And that is that we, after approving the plans, again, at regional office and central office, we actually hold the situation from which an individual is moving. We hold it open for, I want to say it's 6 months. We hold it open for 6 weeks. I'm sorry. We hold it open for 6 weeks, giving the individual an opportunity to make sure that this is a transition that works for them. This is, again, we just want to emphasize it's person-centered. We want to make sure that this improves the quality of life for individuals. And while it's not for everyone, we're very excited about having folks who even might be in the question about it, give it a shot and see if this is a level of independence that works for them. And knowing that it's not a closed door behind them. If they need it for whatever reason to return to their prior situation or setup, they could do that. And I know that we hold that location, their specific location, open for 6 weeks. And then we also hold open the same kind of slot or opportunity open for them for another, I'm sorry to say, I don't know what that period of time is, but for another time certain, so that they have options. And you'll be hearing from, as we go forward, you'll be hearing from programs that have engaged in this other iteration, and perhaps in the future we'll be able to have some of the individuals who have transitioned using this program join us as well. Is there another slide? I don't remember. Oh, and the next slide. I just I'm kind of excited to share that the Department of Housing is very excited about working with us on this. And one of the things that they're doing for us to support us is they're taking a look at the projects that they currently have in the pipeline that have already been started to see if there are supportive, if there are opportunities for supportive housing in those existing units. So for example, if they have designated a certain number of units for low income, middle income, opportunities, that we will be able to take advantage of that. And that could cut our wait time, if you will, down by as much as 10 months. And so we're really very excited. The partnerships that we have across the state, this seems to be greeted as good news by everyone, and all of our partners across the state are very excited about partnering with us and making this a reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Elba. So Elba has given us a nice overview of supportive housing options. And now we're going to hear some examples. What's in place? What does it look like? And I couldn't be more pleased to introduce Michael Menard from LARC of the ARC of Litchfield County. Michael has been very generous in sharing. Oh, can you hear me? I hear I'm frozen. If you can hear me. Michael has been generous in sharing the LARC experience of developing a supportive housing development, and is going to talk to us a little bit about Riverfront. So welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Elisa, and thank you, Elba. Even though you've only been here a short while, I always learn something about supportive housing from you, so grateful for that. We joke we're building the plane as we're in flight on these projects. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Riverfront project. This is a building that opened about a year ago here in Torrington. Torrington is an old mill town with a lot of brownfield sites. This was a brownfield site right along the river in a residential, densely packed residential area, as mill towns are. I think Kyle has some photos. So Kyle, if you could maybe go to the first construction photo, folks can get a sense of where the building is located. This is an I-Light project, unlike the project at Favar, where they had to do all of the heavy lifting. We were able to join with a developer who has expertise and had a site that the city handed over to them for redevelopment after site remediation. And they built a 60 residential unit building, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments, brand new construction. This is with the Penrose Development Corporation, who has a presence here in New England. They were wonderful developers to work with. You can see the building is right along the river and right in a neighborhood. The second slide will show you the next view, from the street. These are construction photos from January of last year. If you want to go ahead, Kyle, to slides 3 and 4, that's the completed building. As Elba was saying, one of the amenities we looked for is some community space. This building does have a nice community room. That's slide number 5 is an apartment, a typical apartment. I think it's a larger than 1 bedroom apartment. And then slide 6 is the community room of Riverfront, which is a really nice space on the ground level. There's also some retail space embedded in the street level of the building. That's not occupied yet, and they're trying to make that space that's conducive to building community. The building is in close proximity to transit, which in Northwestern Connecticut is no easy feat. We don't have a robust transit system up here, but some of our folks do use public transit, which we're grateful for. It's in close proximity to a park, library, downtown amenities, some restaurants, and a new retail space. We support 12 individuals of the 60 total units, so right at 20%. We support 12 individuals. Each of them has a 1-bedroom apartment, and they are distributed throughout the building as per the recommendations of the model. One of the accommodations we had from the developers and the management company is when the building was newly opened, LARC residents were the first ones to move in. So I worked in higher ed for many years, and we used to like to let freshmen move into dorms first so they could imprint on the space and call it their own and feel comfortable in it. It worked out beautifully for us. We were really grateful for that allowance on the part of the developers, and I think it made a huge difference in the individuals we support being comfortable in the space and knowing that it was their home. And then when other individuals moved in, we've just created instant community down there. Worked hard at it, but folks they've been really generous to our individuals, and they've developed friendships and there are lots of social activities. So we're very, very excited about that. We have, as part of our model, a staff on shift overnight, 365 days a year from 11 p.m. till 7 a.m. We have an office in the building, in the central administrative offices that the DeMarco management people use as their home office. We have technology devices. We worked with our colleagues and friends at Midstate Art, Pam Fields and her ATEC team, to put in a lot of devices that help individuals have more autonomy and independence, including some, in a few apartments, we actually put automatic door openers. They were so hard to open that that was an accommodation we needed to make. Again, the developers have been really, really generous and supportive of all of our efforts. We have monitoring systems. We have MedMinder devices. All of the standard for Penrose development is that all stoves shut off automatically. So there were some safety devices that are just baked right into their design. We have all of the fully accessible units that we get to call our own, 4 of them of the 12. That's been helpful as well. To populate this project, we worked diligently for a year leading up to the opening with our West Region partners and central office folks, our clinical team here, the intake team, our IHS manager, our residential director, and our contracts manager. And we worked with West Region Pratt, case managers, supervisors to identify prospective residents and move them in. All of the units have universal design, so that has been a very helpful factor on the part of these developers as well. I think Randy and Marianne are back on the call. I know they were emailing me. So Randy and Marianne Smith are 2 of our absolute hands down favorite parents here at Lark. They're wonderful, wonderful people. Their son, Stephen, who we've supported for a number of years in a variety of different capacities, graduated from our inaugural project search cohort. And Stephen moved into his very first apartment on his own last August. And he's doing remarkably well. And I think Randy and Marianne, if they're on the call, are going to share their experience, because what we realized in this project is we weren't just moving in individuals, we were moving in families too. Well, we were moving in families, and then we were trying to move out families. So, there was a lot of family involvement from the outset. So we worked really hard at that, and we're really proud of this project. It's been a real labor of love. We love to see the proliferation of these projects throughout the state, because they've just been life-changing for the individuals we support, and we're really grateful and honored to be part of this initiative. So Randy and Marianne, are you back on the call? I don't know. Elisa, what do you want to do? Do you want to
You know what we can do, Michael, is I'll
Yeah.
go to the next presenter. We'll
Awesome.
if you want to reach out, they may be having some difficulty with connecting. And when you give me the word that they are back on the call, we'll introduce them.
Will do. Thank you.
All right. Erin Langford, are you on the call?
I am. There it is. I'm here. Sorry.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Erin Langford is from CRI, and Erin is going to talk a little bit about the Trout Brook supportive housing, the most recent development to open in West Hartford, Connecticut. And welcome, Erin.
Hello, how are you all? So we also have a PowerPoint presentation. So this is an artist rendering of our building. We are located on New Park Ave in West Hartford. We were supposed to open last May of 22. However, due to COVID and construction delays and a whole bunch of other stuff, supply chain issues, if that's a familiar phrase that people have heard, put us well behind schedule. The building itself actually ended up opening Christmas week. And our individuals, really our first admission was February 1st. And we started rolling people in gradually. The building wasn't even fully open when we did open. They had a certificate of occupancy for a portion of the building. So that presented with some challenges as well. But we are now officially, completely open, 17 individuals that we're servicing. We have 11 units. 6 of those are 2-bedroom units and 5 of them are 1-bedroom units. If you want to go to the next slide. So our partnership is with the West Hartford Housing Authority, Trout Brook Development Corporation, and obviously DDS. I would like to say as well that they have been wonderful to work with, between property management. All of the people that we've worked with there have been absolutely phenomenal, supportive, open to hearing, our suggestions. When we were talking about developing, and where people were going to go, we ended up sort of settling on, yes, everyone is throughout the building, but we were able to sort of coordinate so that, we have everyone sort of in the same section of the building at one end or the other end and sort of in a row up and down where they have easy access to each other. We're able to get to them more easily, but they are also throughout the building. So that's been very helpful as well. You can go to the next slide. So some of the features of the building, and I do have some pictures at the very end of the slide, but there is a community gym. That has actually really been one of the big things that our individuals have really gravitated towards, which has been great. It has a ton of exercise equipment. There are a number of treadmills and elliptical. There's actually an echelon, which is like a Peloton bike. There's free weights. There's some core training things. So that's been really wonderful. We have a drop-in center and an office area that's in development. We're currently housed in the office that was supposed to be utilized for the management of the unit, but temporarily we're there, but we are in the process of finishing construction on our main sort of drop-in space and community center, which we're hoping will be done the next couple of months. In the meantime, we are using the lobby area, which does house a television, seating, some activities and games. So that's been really great for our individuals as well as some of the other individuals that live in the building. We are right on New Park Ave, so we are very close to shops and restaurants, grocery stores. There's a BJ's right there. There's Walmart right up the street, and we are right on the bus line. And there's fast track access as well. We're very close, within very close walking distance. Next slide. As far as what our residents are sort of doing, we have a number of individuals who are employed within the community. We have a number of individuals who attend day program. We have a number of people who are, looking for work. We have people participating in volunteer activities and opportunities. Just recently, we have someone who's working with a dog trainer to learn how to train emotional support animals. So that's been something that's been really fun for that individual. We do try to do group events and activities, going to parks or other things. Family visits occur. Families are obviously welcome to come. We have individuals that will go home. Obviously, it's summertime, so some of our individuals have gone on trips with their family, so they are maintaining those close bonds. We have people participating in Special Olympics teams, and then other team events and activities that some of our individuals do with day programming or other agencies, things like bowling, basketball. We recently had someone who just finished a softball activity as well. Go ahead. Some of the assistive technology that we have been able to utilize in our building, we have induction stoves that have been put into all of the units to help prevent fire, burning. There was quite a learning curve with those. They are phenomenally complicated, but everyone has done really, really well. We have microwave shutoff devices in all of the units as well. So if there's a fire or something happens in the microwave, the entire microwave will automatically shut down to prevent fire as well. Some of our individuals have sort of ring style doorbells or cameras. We have pill minders, other video technology for some of our individuals that we're utilizing. A number of our individuals also have personal emergency response systems that they wear in the event of a medical or other issue, some cell phone apps and reminders. And then we have an individual who is blind who did have some support from VESB. They came out, they took a look at the apartment, and they were able to give some suggestions and, implement some things in order to assist that person with getting around the building. Next slide. These are just some of the pictures. This is the ribbon cutting ceremony that we had just a couple of months ago, actually. This was held in the lobby with all of the partners coming together to celebrate, the affordable housing piece, our piece as well. And then the next few we can sort of go through. This is the front entrance of the building, which is located in the back parking lot, where everyone thinks this is the back of the building, but this is really the main entrance. There are also side entrances. It is a secure building, so you need a key fob to get in. There is a code that you can utilize if necessary, but our individuals all have a key fob. The next slide. This is just an image from the main lobby. There's a local artist that they use in decorating. So this is a mural when you first come in, and there's a bench where people can sit. The next slide. This is the main lobby area. So you see a little distorted from being uploaded, but you can see it is actually a very large space. There is a TV on the wall that you really can't see from the picture. And there's the long table. And right off of that, there's actually a kitchenette that can be used. There's a microwave and a stove, a microwave and a refrigerator, and some other things that we can utilize if we have events. The next slide. This is a picture of one angle of the gym. This is actually not even all of the equipment. They just recently got a few other free weights that are in there as well, and another couple of machines. And the next slide is this is a kitchen in a 2-bedroom unit. These were taken from the model unit pictures. All of the units have this, whether it's a 1-bed or a 2-bed, have this island which does have the sink as well as the dishwasher. All the stoves, all of the units do have stoves and microwaves, as well as, obviously the refrigerator. They also have a washer and dryer in every unit as well, which has been great. Next slide. This is just a visual of one of the units' living room space. They're all about this size, a little bit smaller for a 1-bed. This particular unit happens to be on the first floor. All of the units have a lovely gray accent wall. The next slide is just an example of a bedroom. This is a bedroom in a 2-bedroom unit. In the 2-bedroom units, the bedrooms are about the same size. There is a lot of closet space in these bedrooms as well. The 1-bedroom unit is about the same size bedroom. And then I think there's one, maybe more, the bathroom. So this is what a typical bathroom in a 2-bedroom looks like. In our 1-bedrooms, they're actually a stall shower. We do also have one ADA unit, which also has a stall shower as well. And I think that's might be the last slide. I will say that it has been a process. It took a while. I think Patience was really necessary on everyone's part. Managing sort of expectations and stress and anxiety. Um, you know, it's still a process. You know, we've been open for just about 5-6 months now. You know, transitioning people in. I think everyone getting sort of used to each other, getting used to the building. The other people in the building have been great. You know, it's really been a great experience overall for our staff, you know, for our agency, for our individuals, you know. So, but it's definitely, it's a journey, not a destination. You know, it really, um, you know, it's taking some time, I think, to work kinks out and other things, but all of our partners have really been great about understanding that, you know, and trying to move forward together because, you know, we really want everyone to be successful. You know, that's the goal. So
Thank you
That's it
so
for
much,
me.
Karen. Thank you. And I think back to those very early conversations as this was a concept, as the housing proposal was just developed, and I can't tell you how excited I am to see those pictures of, you know, of apartments and hear the stories of people transitioning into these new uh, living options. So it took a couple years, but uh, the final product is well worth it. Thank you. Randy and Marion, are you on the call? Hi, welcome. Can you hear me?
I think they're muted.
Yes. Kyle, are you able to help unmute?
It's on my screen that they're unmuted.
Randy and Marion, can you hear me? All right.
Yes, sometimes if you mute and unmute yourself, that'll allow you to talk.
That would be helpful. Thanks. Any technical assistance?
Randy, if you can unmute yourself now. Randall? Okay.
Okay. Well, I think what we're going to do is we'll go to the next presentation and Patricia, I can work with you and Michael work with you and we can see if we can troubleshoot. All right. So the two presentations we just heard, Riverfront and Trout Brook, were both project-based supportive housing that Elba described. The concept, the developer worked to submit an application. It was approved. The low-income tax credit component was in place. And then it's a period of time where that development comes to fruition. It takes a couple of years from concept to move in. The more recently, we have worked with Department of Housing, utilizing those same rental assistance vouchers, but looking at non-project based supportive housing developments that are already in place, that are already out there. And I'd like to introduce Kevin Zingler and Peter Engelbright from Mark in Manchester, who will talk a little bit about how their agency is approaching non-project based supportive housing. Welcome, Peter and Kevin.
All right, thank you for having us. Can you hear us?
I can.
All right, perfect. It just said it was unmuting still. So my name is Kevin Zingler. I'm the president and CEO at Mark Inc. of Manchester. We've been around since 1952. And our residential services was established in 1991. And actually, when we first established our residential services, we actually did exactly what we're going to be doing more of, which is basically working with existing apartment owners and developers in the area with apartments that have already been established to move our folks in. And I see behind Peter's head on the screen there, I see a picture of one of our guys who's been living independently for the last 20 plus years. in an apartment complex, and he has gotten to know his neighbors. He's gone to cookouts, he's gone to social activities. As you can see there in the back of the photo, maybe you can't, but he's at a ball game. He loves baseball. There he is up there. So he's had a really great and rich life, living independence, and it's because of our supports and natural supports that we put together in his home. That's facilitated through our residential services, which is overseen by Peter Engelbrecht, and Carolyn Stevens, I see, is on the call, our assistant residential director, and our director of services, Delcy Eisenberg, that they've had fulfilling lives, and the families have just been ecstatic to have these opportunities, to make friends, to have roommates, to have opportunities to be in the community, work in the community, and just live independently. And all these life skills that we all talk about training folks on, they've learned firsthand by being in 1991, being put into these apartments and doing these things on a firsthand basis. So I'll turn it over to Peter to talk a little bit more about how the supports work and what the feedback has been from some of the families that we support. So Peter.
Good afternoon, everybody. We were very excited about being awarded this project by DDS. Really, one of the things that excited us the most, me especially, was getting the rental assistant vouchers. That is a huge piece for our people served. All of you who are already involved with housing, you know, affordability is such a huge piece of the pie for our people served. So to get those vouchers has really going to be a huge game changer for our guys. So we're working with Charles Drives Associates. It's a small apartment complex in Manchester. They have about 80 existing units in a small neighborhood-based apartment complex, very centrally located here in town. As a matter of fact, the police department and the high school are about a stone's throw away. And for some of our residents, they were very excited about having the police office right next door. It was almost a safety issue, and they felt comforted by the fact that the police were so close by, which was kind of a nice thing. This apartment complex, we've had a relationship with them for 25 years. We have had people living in the same complex for 25 years. They came in very, very young, and now they're kind of my age. And we really wanted to jump on this opportunity so that we could provide more opportunities for younger people coming in, younger people who are living with older families, members who are maybe having some struggles themselves. All of you who are already in our housing world, you may be having kind of folks who are aging in place, and that's really what we're having as well. And we really want to open the door to some younger people, some folks to come in and really enjoy all the opportunities that our current residents already have. Charles Drive is a great spot, and what we've been tasked to do is find 2 individuals this year by the end of the calendar year for a 2-bedroom apartment, and then next year we're going to have 2 more individuals as well for a 2-bedroom apartment. This apartment is great. They don't have as many amenities as some of the newer places, unfortunately, but very much a small neighborhood feel. Our residents who have been there, and currently we have 3 apartments with 6 total individuals, so 2 in each apartment. The folks there do activities with one another. They like to go to one another's apartments on Friday nights to see wrestling events. So they have big wrestling parties in the apartments. So we're very much looking forward to adding 2 more apartments to the mix and really getting to know some new people. And the neighbors are fantastic. They really embrace our guys when they come in. They're very watchful of our guys. It really is, again, a neighborhood feel. And this location is, again, centrally located on a bus line, meets all the criteria for community involvement. There is shoppability, so people can walk to where they'd like to go for close activities. There's a local playhouse that's very close that people enjoy going to shows and those types of things. It really is a very, very exciting opportunity to hopefully we can open the door to 4 more individuals, which we certainly will. I would invite anybody who has any questions about this particular project, certainly feel free to give us a call here at Mark Incorporated. I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it some more. But we're very excited to have 4 new individuals joining us as we move forward.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you both. Kevin, did you have anything additional?
No, I think we summed it up. We're just excited about having 4 new individuals in this area. And then also we're looking at assistive technology to figure out how we can break down some of those barriers and also provide some of those security or safety features that families may be a little hesitant on. So those are the things that we're looking to do, and we're thankful to DDS for partnering with us, because these resources, as Peter said, the vouchers and then also reimbursement for technology and some of the staffing is going to be a way for us to expand that open door for more additional housing apartments in the area in Manchester. So thank you.
Thank you. And I know that that's an area where there's a lot of interest. And this was the first non-project based supportive housing initiative that DDS has offered, but we do anticipate that it certainly will not be the last. So appreciate you sharing your experience and how you're approaching it, because I think as with the project-based supportive housing, the pioneers learn a lot. They kind of navigate through uncharted waters, and then others benefit from those lessons. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Marion and Randy, are you able to unmute? Patricia, any idea?
I put my cell phone on the chat. I don't know if they have been in the chat.
Okay. All right.
Rand, I can give my number.
Or the call-in number. If you put the call-in number to this call, maybe that's the best way. They can call in and we can hear them. We won't be able to see them, but in the meantime, we can start to move to some of the questions. Kyle, I think some of the questions have been answered. Yes, the PowerPoints, in addition to the presentation, the PowerPoints will be available on our website. Usually takes us a day or two. So I'd say by the end of this week, we should have the materials up on the website. That sound about right, Lauren? The DDS website. Lauren Gray shared the link. It's in the chat. If you click on that, but if you go to the DDS website, and I will put the website address in the chat, on the front page, the home page, there is the 4th Tuesday forums on innovative options. When you click on that link, you will see all of the forums that have been held. And if you go to today's date, give us to the end of the week, you'll see the recording of today's meeting as well as the PowerPoint presentations. There are a couple questions about supportive housing. Is supportive housing available in a family home or in in a non-apartment based setting? And supportive housing, as we're describing it, is where there are multiple units in a setting. Both the project-based and the non-project-based would have multiple units in a setting. There might be other options available in the family home or in a multifamily home, and so you might talk with your case manager about what options might be available. But for today's purposes, supportive housing is in multi-unit apartments. All right. Kyle, do you want to share questions? Thanks.
Yeah, I will say that we won't be able to get to everybody's questions right now, but certainly there are a lot of really good ones.
And I would add, there are some questions that are more specific to a particular scenario or a situation. What we can do is circle around after the meeting and follow up if there is a particular question you have about your loved one or a particular circumstance. We won't be able to get to that in the large meeting, but we can follow up after the meeting.
Right. And one of the things that I am seeing quite frequently is dealing with being on the wait list for housing. And if there's a different wait list for supportive housing specifically, or is there only the one wait list? I'm seeing that in a few different areas. So I don't know if you wanted to expand on that, Deputy Commissioner.
So I can talk a little bit about the process for supportive housing. When there has been a development that's in process at a certain, and I would welcome Michael or Aaron for you to share your perspective as a provider. As I mentioned, it's a lengthy process. So at a certain point in the process, when it's a little further along, the development is underway, DDS would start sending referrals to the provider. We're working with the regional case managers to say, okay, Trout Brook development is moving along. It's going to be available in West Hartford. It has all of these, amenities that are available. This is the location, and case managers will start to forward referrals. So you can, if you're interested in supportive housing, you should be speaking with your case manager. They should be aware of that desire. And then the referrals would go to the provider. At that point, the provider begins a review process. And I don't know, Aaron or Michael, if you want to share what that process looks like.
Sure. It was genuine partnership, but I would say, we had some ideas for individuals we thought would work well in this setting, but the deal we struck with the West Region was we put all of those individuals on their side of the firewall. And so they all came back to us as part of the process with Pratt. So they made the first cut and the first determination. And then we sat down and had the same deliberative process we would have for a CLA or CRS placement. But it was a little more complicated because, again, we were trying to figure out what it was going to look like and feel like, and we hadn't built it yet. So those conversations were very complicated. I would say moving forward, the additional challenge we have in a project like this is that you can't have a vacancy for very long, because all of those tax credits that the developers get by virtue of their partnership with a provider like Lark, that's heavily dependent upon uninterrupted occupancy of those units. So if they start to have gaps of time, they start to their tax credits start to unravel, particularly in the first year. So there's real urgency to create uninterrupted occupancy if you have a misstep or it doesn't work out. We had one instance where it didn't work out, but it's, but I think again, all roads lead to the DDS side of the firewall. That's where all individual candidates for occupancy started for us here.
Thanks.
Yeah, I would
Here.
echo that as well. I think that there were challenges that we sort of didn't foresee. It wasn't just who's ready for this type of a setting, who's going to be successful, who's going to do well. It was also, 6 of our units are 2-bedroom. So not only matching people who can live together potentially, and doing that in our situation, really still during COVID times where people didn't get to spend that much lead time together. But there's also the financial piece. We had a couple of situations where people couldn't live together after, being introduced and really wanting to move forward because their income was too high to be together. So then it was like a game of chess where we had to sort of, okay, well now where can we move this person or where can we put that person? Which wasn't ideal, but there's just so much that goes into it. Things that I don't think we even thought about when this started, that sort of came up. So
Thanks. And I think one of the other considerations with supportive housing, and if you've been to some of the previous forums, or received the newsletter or are familiar with STEP, is in each of the settings, we've had people who are currently living in CLAs or CRSs in a 24-hour setting who are interested in supportive housing. And so that's a variable as well. People who are moving from a congregate setting into the more individualized setting would be prioritized as part of the process. Elba, you have your hand up?
Yes, I just wanted to add that we are aware of the challenges that we faced in West Hartford and in some of our earlier developments around the two roommate situation in terms of income. And we have been talking with the Department of Housing, and they are going to work with us to get a deeper what's the word I'm looking for? Deeper allowance, so that individuals won't be priced out of the, a deeper subsidy is the word, so that the individuals will not be priced out because they're roommates. And so this is, I would say, unfortunately, one of the pitfalls that we had not anticipated, but now that we have seen it, we have moved aggressively to correct it so that that's not a barrier moving forward.
All right, Kyle, the next question.
Yep. So we have another question coming from Tanya. Would an individual lose a Section 8 voucher if they move into a supportive housing complex that comes with an RAP certificate? And if so, how does that impact choice for a future move?
I think, Michael, you had
Yeah,
some of these
we have.
kind of circumstances.
We have, and it's really important to note that because of the way these deals are structured with the developers, these vouchers are attached to the project. So that if an individual came into this project, they would inherit one of those vouchers. But if they were to move out, that voucher doesn't go with them. It's project based. So the 12 units at Lark are going to be subsidized in this way for as long as the commitment from the commissioner's office, which is a fairly significant commitment of years. And so there were a lot of issues that not only is Elba wonderful, but I'm very excited that you have a director of housing in central office. There were so many complicated questions like this that emerged through these projects. It's going to be really helpful to have some guidance and somebody, already hitting the ground and trying to figure out how to deal with some of these. But I would guess that they might be vulnerable. They might actually lose that Section 8 voucher because they have to surrender it. They couldn't take it with them into this project. This project has its own voucher system, and I'm guessing our colleagues do as well, that they're set up similarly.
Elba, I see you have your hand up. I think also that Marion and Randy are able to join us. So if you have add, and then we'll
yeah, let me just quickly say that again, those vouchers are tied to the property. However, the Department of Housing does have what they call RAP vouchers, rental assistance program vouchers, that are tied to the person, not to the apartment. And so we would basically figure out how to trade that out. We've again been talking about that. I feel terrible that you guys had to find these challenges while you were out there sort of, being the trailblazers, but we really appreciate it. And we're working very, very diligently to address those kinds of barriers. So that's another one that's not a barrier any longer. Thank God.
Thank you. Marion and Randy, are you able to hear me? Can you press *6?
I did.
I think I see Randall. Welcome. It's so nice. Thank you for your persistence. It's nice to have you join us. We can't yet hear you.
I'm no longer muted, it says.
Yes, we can hear you. Welcome.
You can hear us. We have a
We
voice.
can hear you.
Wow.
Thank you so much. So hopefully you could hear Michael's introduction of you earlier. He said you're wonderful people.
Thank you. We didn't hear anything.
He gave you a glowing introduction. So welcome. If you could share a little bit about your experience and Stephen's experience in terms of the riverfront housing and what a difference it's made in Stephen's life.
Maybe we should just do
We
this.
want, I
Go
just
ahead.
want to give you a little introduction to Stephen, to know how difficult sometimes it is for Steve to deal with change. And he's not an easy person to get to know, but Lark has always done anything and everything. If they could stand on their head to do it, they would do it, to make Stephen feel comfortable, to make him feel accepted. And I think the results are that he was ready to move into these apartments. And that was our biggest fear. We waited as long as we could to not tell him until we were certain that it was going to happen. And we prepared him for it. And Lark came through. I can't even say how pleased we are with what Lark has done to make him prepared for it. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. He's not an easy person. He doesn't like change. Most people don't. But I think if you magnify that for people with special needs, change is very difficult. And I think only because of the support that he got from the people at Lark that encouraged him and that just built him up over the years, he was ready for this change, and he loves his apartment.
Yeah. She's better at living. I'm going to have to email my report to you, Michael, because this is running overtime and we were locked out for so long. We had a prepared statement to read out, and I think it would just take too long at this point to do that. So we're gonna email you, Michael. Can you hear us, Michael? I can't know if you can hear it. Yeah. We came up.
I can hear you, Randy.
Yeah, one's
Yep.
called Stephen's Journey, and one's called His Path to Independent Living. But the time constraint is against us right now, and we won't be able to share that the way we'd like to. So we'll email that to you.
If you are,
Yeah.
well, let me say that most people that logged in today logged in to hear you. I think the reason that these forums are so popular is because individuals and families speak from their firsthand experience. So we do have a little time, but I won't put you on the spot. We can also, if you have your stories written out, we can also share them on our website so that people can
Sure.
read them, whatever you're most comfortable with.
I think at this time we'll just email them to you. We don't want to keep anybody any longer than they have to, so we'll do that.
Thank you so much. And if you're comfortable with our posting them on the website, then we would be happy to do that.
Yeah,
would be
we'll send them to Michael and he'll forward that somewhere. So we'll do that.
All right.
But
Thank you so much.
It's been very interesting listening to all of you talking about other success stories too. So we appreciate that.
We're so happy you could join us. Let me see, and if you are able to stay on, there may be a question or two for you as well. Kyle, are there additional questions?
There are. I apologize. I lost my place while I was putting my email in the chat. So if you would give me 1 second to go back to it. There were a lot of good questions in here.
Okay, I have one for
everyone's-
Peter and Kevin. Do you have staff? Oh, okay. Peter and Kevin, do you have staff on site or close by to support the individuals in the apartment in Manchester? And then after you answer, I think it might be helpful if the others answer as well, because there are variations. So we'll start with Mark.
Got it. So I'll take this one, Kevin. So for this apartment, these are people who do not require 24-hour supports. However, we do have people who are always available by phone 24/7, and we have people who can respond within like 5 minutes because most senior management lives in Manchester. So when anything happens, we can respond very, very quickly.
Thank you. And so that's one option. It really does depend on the needs of the individuals. Michael, do you want to share what's in place for the overnights at Riverfront?
Sure, we always have somebody on call from 11 to 7. And then our IHS manager, who has a 1-year-old, by the way, seems to be superhuman. Wally, he's always receiving texts and calls, which is not ideal, but that's what happens. And he does have a fairly large team. So, you know, we know that it took us a while, like folks were saying earlier, to settle in. Most of the activity gets quieter around 9 o'clock at night, which is sort of when our staff are leaving. But we do have emergency provisions in place, and we have staff local to the building as well, who are, you know, ostensibly on call if there's a real emergency. So it gets covered. It's not an elegant fix, but the overnight is relatively easy because there is somebody on site doing administrative work, but there in case there's an overnight emergency that happens.
Thank you. So you do have someone there that's on site overnight.
We do.
And Aaron, what does the overnight look like at Troutbrook?
Same for us. We have an awake overnight who's present in the office. They are available in the event of an emergency. They usually kind of walk around just to kind of check things out every so often, just to make sure everything's going okay. But they are there awake during the overnight hours. We, as of right now, have management in the building, you know, 7 days a week. We have an on-call, emergency on-call system as well in place. And, you know, there are rare periods of time that that there's not some staff in the building. You know, for the most part, there's always someone available unless, you know, people happen to be out and about doing activities or, you know, have appointments and that kind of thing. But for the most part, there's always a person who's there. And we do have a cell phone that staff carry as well, so that if they need something, they just call the number and either someone comes up or they come down or they make arrangements.
Thank you. Kyle.
Deputy
Another
Commissioner,
question?
we do have a question from Lynn Arazzini, I believe. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. I see your hand raised. If you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and asking the question.
Hi, thank you. Can you hear me?
We
Okay.
can.
I had a question as to where in the process the Westville cluster housing project is, if anybody knows the answer to that question. I know that that's being proposed, and I didn't know. That's the one I'm interested in for my son Carl.
You can get started on your one.
You say Westville? Is there another
Westville's
town
part
that
of- It's part of New Haven.
New Haven?
Yes.
Elba, do you know offhand, or you can follow up with Lynn after the call?
I can do that, Lynn. I can follow up with you after the call. I do not know offhand when that is queued up.
Oh, okay, but it's still in the works. It's not been canceled. It was canceled once before with another provider, so I was just wondering.
We can take a look and we'll check on the status and let you know.
All right, and then one other quick one. Somebody like Carl right now has rent subsidies. So does that change if you go to a place that has a Section 8 voucher? You don't utilize your rent subsidies anymore. You change to the other kind of subsidies. Is that what happens?
Yes,
And-
that's correct.
Okay, and then if for some reason you don't stay in that apartment, you know, forever, for your whole life, do you get the rent subsidies back if that, you know, changed for some reason, the developer left or whatever reason?
So if the person moved out, it could be, as Elba said, that one of the rental assistance vouchers, the vouchers that are for the person, that might be an option, or rent subsidy.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It looks like we have a hand raised from Lisa Nee, I believe is how you pronounce your name. My apologies if I mispronounced, but if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and asking your question.
Yeah, that's great. Say, I'm curious because it all sounds so very exciting. How have the town governments interfaced?
Who was that?
For instance, is their recreation department it included in making unified events that now that they have a knowledge that there are people living there, that it makes sense to support.
So there is an expectation that there will be activities available to all residents in the building. But I will I'll defer, Michael, in terms of activities or interface with the local. I know you've had a lot of interface with the local government.
Sure, and this, yeah, Torrington has been a full partner in this. That, you know, we wanted to do stranger danger workshops. The police chief came down himself and did those. We have a long relationship with him. He used to be at a state police barracks up in Canaan, where we have had a work crew for a long time. We have Special Olympics here as part of our recreation program, so we have a pretty robust program there. And yeah, we expect that there are porous boundaries, that it's not a hermetically sealed community. It's an integrated downtown. And one of my favorite stories, we have a young man, Aaron, who knows more about music than anyone I've ever known. And a few months ago, he just got a gig as a DJ at a community radio station within walking distance of his apartment. He's going to be there one day a week doing that. So he's ecstatic. He's working. He has a real job. But, you know, these opportunities that emerge just by virtue of the fact that we were in a lot of rural areas up here, but they were now in close proximity to amenities. So yeah, our expectation is that they're integrated into the community and that the community doesn't stop at the doors to the building, but that that boundary is porous on purpose. And our staff work really hard at creating outings and opportunities for collaboration with other organizations in the area.
Thanks. Kevin or Aaron, do you have anything to add in terms of community partnerships?
We have not really done anything with West Hartford. You know, a lot of our individuals came from surrounding areas and already had some things that they were doing in their towns that they came from that they didn't want to give up. So we've sort of tried to create some things for our individuals within the building, as well as within our agency. You know, we are a very large agency, so there have been some events between field days, and there's a barbecue coming up, and there's a formal dance and dinner. You know, that our individuals are also invited to participate in. As our big space gets done, I think we'll be able to coordinate a lot of other things. But we've also reached out to some other partners to see about coming in to do some trainings and other things. There's been requests for, you know, yoga, meditation, some other things that we would like to be able to do once we have a little bit more dedicated space to do that.
And I will add that one of the expectations, especially the project-based supportive housing, is that activities are offered to all tenants, all residents in the building. So if there's a yoga class, it's offered to all folks in the building. I know, you know, there was a crock pot cooking class that was offered in one of the community rooms, and you know, there were a lot of single people that said, hey, I could use this skill. It's those activities that are offered throughout the building are designed to bring people together and create a community. And Kevin, did you have anything? I know you work really closely with your local community. Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, we're fully integrated with the community, and you know, I guess the thing that Peter and I and Carolyn always joke about is our folks have a better social life than we do. They're in the community, they're at the concert in the park, they're at the farmers market, they're at downtown Manchester having breakfast with their family and friends. They're going out to dinner, the movies. There's a plethora of entertainment and restaurants and shops in the Manchester area, and it's all accessible, which is great in terms of transportation. So they really do have a better social life than we do in terms of getting out into the community, which is amazing and great. But we also partner with the town of Manchester on Cruising on Main's coming up, which is a huge car show in downtown Manchester. Our guys always go to that. So there's always activities that the Manchester Rec Department or the town is sponsoring that our guys take advantage of, whether it be at the library or other nonprofit organizations. Peter mentioned Little Theater of Manchester is right here in our community. Our guys love to go see the Broadway production type plays that they do. And it's just being a part of our community. And what the greatest part about that is when I go shopping in Highland Park Market or other places, people come up to me and say, "Oh, I just saw Johnny. He was just through here, you know, and he looks good." And those connections are huge for our guys to thrive and have those independence and provide that level of security within their community, which is awesome. So.
Thank you so much. We may have time for one more question. Kyle?
Okay, I've got one here from Susan in the chat. She's wondering if there will be a self-direction option for housing similar to what is offered for day programs. So the person would be able to decide and coordinate their own housing situation and supports versus going through an agency.
There are options, Susan, and I think I would be happy to reach out to you. And I know you're connected with the self-direction team, but I think the options that are available in terms of life in the community through self-direction are pretty wide ranging, and we could get into more specifics. I'd be happy to connect you with someone that can talk more about what some of those options might look like. All right, it is 4:30. Once again, I am so humbled that people will take the time on a Tuesday, hot Tuesday afternoon, to share their stories and really share information that may be useful to someone else. And so I want to thank today's presenters. I always learn something. I'm always inspired as we have these conversations. And I always get some insight into the next steps, what we can do additionally in the future. Supportive housing is fairly new. And so take care, Randy and Marion. We're seeing, the commissioner likes to say that snowball is starting to roll downhill. We're seeing the momentum. We are for sure. There will be more opportunities. We recognize we don't have this everywhere throughout the state at this point in time, but Elba is on board and she is fierce about making sure that we are expanding these options for people across the state. So thank you so much, and I hope you all have a great afternoon.